Welcome to Under the Lens. Come and enjoy an extraordinary, raw, and unfiltered podcast that delivers debate, discussions, and interviews about film, pop culture, and everything in between. Here is your host, film critic and journalist, Byron Lafayette.
Greetings all and welcome to another episode of Under the Lens. I am of course your host, Byron Lafayette, and today we are going to have a very special episode. And I know it seems like I say a very special episode every episode, but I think that's just because every episode is very special. So we are going to be talking about today top 5 patriotic movies to watch for the July 4th holiday coming up. And I am going to be joined today by special guest JB Huffman. Thanks for joining me today, JB.
Oh man, thanks for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Mhm. And as I'm sure anybody who's followed my podcast or JB's podcast knows, both of us are huge fans of list episodes because we watch so many movies, and we always have a list of movies for pretty much any occasion. So it's like whenever I'm going to do a list episode, I always think, okay, I got to get my man JB because he always has great selections. um, so all right, well, let's jump into our list here. As always, we start with some honorable mentions, and and I have a feeling probably both of us are going to be using the honorable mentions list to slip in a few more into that top 5. So I know I'm at least planning on doing that. So what's your first honorable mention, JB?
I got to go with Apollo 13.
Very good one.
It's probably my favorite Ron Howard movie, and I've seen it. I've only seen it a couple of times. I mean, I've seen it obviously. It used to come on TV a lot when I was a kid, and I've seen bits and pieces of it growing up. But like actually sitting through it, I've only seen it twice, I believe. But I mean, that's just a very, very American thing right there. What going out into space and trying to, that's it started in the '60s, and it's just something that we've always wanted to do, and now they've been privatizing it, which I think is cool. That's we're not going to get into that because that's polarizing as well, but
uh, I love anything to do with space travel, and definitely excited to see what the future has for us. Going to Mars and back to the moon with Artemis and everything. I think it's definitely going to be. I think no matter what end of the spectrum our listeners fall on, it's going to be interesting to watch to see what ends up developing. But
for sure.
And Apollo 13 it's a great film. I haven't seen that one in probably maybe 5 to 7 years or so, but it's just so good. It's such a fantastic cast, and just just an excellent spacefaring film.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first one on my honorable mentions list is a film that I would say is not necessarily all that good of a film, but I still love it to pieces, and that is 2012's Battleship. It is just like I said, it's not really a very good film, but it's so much fun. They take the idea of the board game and for some inexplicable reason decide to throw an alien invasion into that, and the alien invasion is fighting the U.S. Navy, and it's very much one of those hoorah type films. And we get to see just like massive amount of just I guess the best way to say it would be like Navy porn, basically. um, just like so many battleships, and just and there's an amazing sequence where they bring out an old World War II battleship because all the other ones have been destroyed, and they're going out just laying waste to the aliens, and it's great. It has a lot of great odes to veterans serving and everything. It's one of those ones if you just want to put it on with the family and just have a good time, and kind of turn your brain off. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. I actually haven't seen that one yet.
Mhm.
It's been on my list along with thousands and thousands of other movies that I've been wanting to watch.
I know that feeling.
Definitely check it out. Does that have Taylor Kitsch in it?
It
It's been a
does,
while
yes.
since.
Yes, he's the
Okay,
lead in it. And I think Liam Neeson is also in it. He's one of the
nice.
admirals. Yeah, has a great cast, and I pretty much love anything with Taylor in it.
Oh yeah, for
He's
sure,
good in
man.
anything.
Tim Riggins, man.
Uh-huh. It is Tim Riggins. uh,
Uh, well, I guess I'm gonna just uh, mention three right quick because they're all pretty similar. They're all movies. They're all war movies that came out within the last 20 years, and they're all. Now that I think about it, they're all directed by basically. I'm the Manly Movies guy, right? These three movies are all directed by pretty much a who's who of Manly Movies directors because these guys have made a lot of them. And they're all based on actual events that have happened in my lifetime. So it's going to be Ridley Scott's Black Hawk Down,
mm,
Clint Eastwood's American Sniper, and Michael Bay's 13 Hours.
ooh, all fantastic choices.
And so visceral too, like and hard, difficult to watch. Just like, and that's why I couldn't put them in my top five because I can't watch these every year.
Yeah.
you know,
Oh.
it's just they're hard, gut wrenching, man. But I love them. They're great, great, great films, great manly movies that with some good nuggets of wisdom in them, and and I mean, who doesn't love a good war movie, man? Especially, I mean, and these events we're not too far away from these events, like, yeah, it's,
That's very true. It's bizarre to kind of think that, for a lot of these, we lived through them, and
mhm,
saw them, or we're very, very close to it. I can't remember the exact date for Mogadishu with Black Hawk Down, but I was at the very least, a child when it happened.
mhm,
So yeah, it's very it is weird to think that way.
mhm. It's not like watching, Saving Private Ryan, took place 70 years ago. Like, it's not the same thing.
No. No, that's very true. And you know, 13 hours with Michael Bay. That one is one of those ones, that I love to point out to people when they're like, "Oh, he's such a terrible director," or whatever. And I'm like, "Go check out this movie. It really showcases, when he puts together a story with heart, with emotion, and adds his flair for action and explosions and everything. And it's a great mix of those two things, I felt.
Oh, I agree,
Mhm.
100%. I mean, has some good artistic qualities to it. I
Mhm.
mean, what somebody has said that he's the director of 1,000 cuts or something like that.
Mhm.
Because yeah, I mean he overly edits his movies, but I mean it's fine. That's his shtick, and he has his own flair, and I get it. I mean he's pretty much a one trick pony as far as cinematography goes, but like this is an example of him making something that's from the heart and very very well acted by some really good actors, including Mr. John Krasinski from The Office.
Mhm.
Um, it's a great cast, and what happened and the event, it plays it out, and oh man, it's rough.
It is,
It's
yeah. It's
hard.
very, very rough film. Like you said, not one of those ones that you can rewatch all the time.
Hmm.
That's how I feel about Black Hawk Down. Like, probably one of the best war movies that's ever been made.
Oh
But
yeah,
it's like I can really only rewatch it maybe like every. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a once a decade rewatch almost. It's
pretty much. Yeah.
like, oh. Well, I have about three honorable mentions that I'll go through real quick here. and they're all kind of different than each other. It's kind of strange, but the first one is going to be Mel Gibson's The Patriot. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Great, gut wrenching film, but so good. Really, really enjoyed that one a lot. Then Harrison Ford's Air Force One, which is just a super fun American action film. And then one that a lot of people may not have heard of. This one was made. I can't remember the year it was made, but it's called A More Perfect Union, and it's a movie about the founding of, or the ratifying and the creation of the Constitution. And it's a excellent film. If you're interested in that subject matter, it's very, very good. I believe it was made by Brigham Young University. I believe was the people behind it who paid for it, but it's a very well made film. And I had to watch it for school when I was a kid, and I ended up just really falling in love with it, being kind of the history buff that I am, as some people will see with my top five.
1989.
Yes, that's what. Yes, I believe. Yeah, 1989.
Okay. All right. I'll have to check that out. I
Hmm.
haven't seen that. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen that one in quite a long time, but I remember it really stuck with me as a kid, and it's just interesting seeing all of the turmoils and trouble going on, between all the people ratifying this document. It's a very, 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 very interesting to see, to say the least.
Gotcha. I gotta mention one more. What did you get? Did you mention all yours?
Let's see. Yes, yeah, I had four on
Okay.
my list.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I had one more that
Mhm.
I gotta mention it. It's probably going to be on your list.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure it's on most people's list, but I had to throw it out there. Independence Day, man.
Oh
Um,
yes.
I just recorded an episode for that that's supposed to be coming out on uh, 4th of July, and it, it's I've only seen it twice, but it's one that now that I've watched it again, I'm gonna have to start watching it probably every year
Mhm.
because it's just so dang good. And I didn't put it in my top five only because it's not really they're saving the world, not just America, So
Mhm.
I kind of I was like, yeah, I'm gonna leave that off just because I'm sure it's gonna be on somebody else's list, and I wanted to get these other five in there just because they're different. You know?
Absolutely. I know that feeling. Yeah, it's Independence Day. It's one of my all-time favorites. Probably it's probably in my top 10 to 20 movies of all time. Just
Hmm.
I can't even remember the first time I saw it. I was a kid, and just absolutely loved it. And it normally is one that I rewatch most every 4th of July, or somewhere close to the 4th of July. I rewatch it, and definitely this year will be no different. And we won't talk about the sequel, but yeah, just an absolute masterclass in action filmmaking. Roland Emmerich has a lot of critics, out there, but the man does know how to create a action disaster spectacle, and he was at the top of his game with Independence Day.
Oh, for sure, man. I
Hmm.
mean, that dude, he may honestly, I love all of his disaster movies that he's done. Like they're all like even, and I know this might get a lot of people, looking or listening to me all weird, but I loved Moonfall, man. I enjoyed it in the theaters. It was a fun experience, and it was something that kind of made me think a little bit. But man, it had a lot of heart, and I actually shed a tear there towards the end. So like it was, I'm a fan.
Yeah. No, honestly, yeah, I was not on board with all the hate for Moonfall. I had a great time watching it. It was a pretty original concept for, a science fiction film. And just yeah, I had a great time with it. It showcased all of his disaster skills. Like you said, it had heart to it. Had a good story. So yeah, honestly, I'm right there with you. It was it was a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Uh, all right. Well, it is now that time to start hitting our top fives. I'm very curious to see what yours are, and how many films have landed on both of our lists, or if it's going to be where we have all chosen different things. So, why don't you start us off, JB? What is your number five?
My number five, a an American list, a patriotic list, whatever you want to call it, would not be complete without at least one John Wayne movie.
Oh, has to. Uh
So I went with Howard Hawks' 1959 Rio Bravo.
huh. Ooh, fantastic movie.
And the reason I went with that is it's kind of tongue in cheek because um, John Wayne had said that uh, High Noon was an un-American movie that, and Howard Hawks said it the same. What they both criticized the movie, saying that a real American sheriff isn't going to be running around like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to get help from people. He's gonna stand his ground. And so, well, Howard Hawks and John Wayne, they make Rio Bravo a couple years later in response to that movie. And this is what America's all about, man. This is what, when I look at Patriot, that versus not High Noon. I know High Noon gets all the praise, but dude, Rio Bravo is all about a man handling his business because he's got a job to do and he's going to do it. And he doesn't run around looking for help. He actually refuses help from people. He's got a couple people that he works with that the old man, I can't think of his name, and then dude, and old Ricky Nelson, Dean Martin and Ricky Nelson singing. I mean, you can't have a bad movie with that happening. Stumpy, that was the guy's name. But yeah, I mean, he does have a few people that help him, but that's just because they refuse to leave. but John Chance, that is a man's man, and I love this movie. It's one that I haven't seen up until just like about a year or so ago. But dude, it's the American way. Love it, love it.
And I really need to rewatch Rio Bravo because I remember, I saw it years and years ago, really, really liked it a lot. And so it's one that I definitely need to revisit because I know that they sometimes put it into almost like a spiritual trilogy, almost with 1966 El Dorado and 1970s Rio Lobo.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're kind of like similar themes and characters and stuff. But yeah, Rio Bravo is one of the all-time great westerns. I would say that's probably one I'm going to revisit this week, I think.
Do it.
Well,
Yeah.
my my number five is going to be it's a tie between these two films. And so
Okay.
the first one I'll go with is The Right Stuff. Uh,
Ooh, that's a good
oh,
one.
it is an absolute classic of the space age.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those movies that it's so patriotic, but it's not patriotic in like a hoorah kind of way. It's just it's just very much about like the enduring of the American spirit. And and it just has such an amazing cast. And just kind of seeing this basically true story kind of play out on the screen is just it's incredible. I mean, we got, for some people who haven't seen it, we have like Ed Harris playing John Glenn. We have Sam Shepard as Chuck Yeager, Scott Glenn as Al Shepard, Dennis Quaid as Gordon Cooper. I mean, I could just go on and on. Like it's incredible. And I first, weirdly enough, I actually first saw it on July 4th as a kid. One of my cousin's fiance brought it over and said, "Hey, let's all watch The Right Stuff as we're cooking." And I'd never heard of it. We just started watching it. I was glued to the screen, and after that, it just kind of became one of my favorite patriotic movies to revisit every other Fourth of July.
Yeah,
And
that movie. I actually had. I had never seen it up until I think it was might have been last year. But dude, it's so good.
Oh, it hits so hard, and and the thing is, what I love about it too is that not even just being a hard hitting biopic, but it also has some great artistic choices as well. With the way
Hmm.
it's filmed. The I remember the juxtaposing of kind of like the dancing sequences, with the crash sequence. It's just it has some great filmmaking in there as well. It's just so good. um then the second film for number five, that's tied, is Nicolas Cage's World Trade Center.
Okay.
And this is a film that it released. Remember the look up the date here that it released. It was 2006, and it's kind of one of those films. It kind of came and went. It's not. I want to say it's not one that's super well known. It doesn't hit a lot of people's best of lists, but it's a film that I really really love and have grown to love even more over the years. It has like I said, it has a great cast of characters. Maria Bello, Maggie Gyllenhaal. Uh, you know, just really really good, and it's directed by Oliver Stone, who's one of my favorite filmmakers. I really
Oh yeah.
like his movies again,
Same.
and yeah, he's so good, and he makes like one movie every 25 years it seems. But it's like but the reason I put it down is as like a patriotic film is because obviously it's about one of America's darkest moments. It's not a celebration of American strength or anything, but it very much is a celebration of the strength of America's spirit, and people helping each other, people rallying during their darkest moments. And it's just following basically two firemen who go into the World Trade Center to help people and get trapped, and it's about the efforts to rescue them and kind of their real true life experience of what happened to them while they were buried underneath all this rubble. And it's very much a tearjerker, very intense, an emotional journey. But for anybody who hasn't seen it, definitely recommend checking it out. I would even go so far as to say that I think it's one of Nicolas Cage's better performances over the years.
Okay. That is one that has been on my list for a long, and I'm like you. I love Oliver Stone. I mean, and out of the movies that I've seen like I'm I've seen a lot of them. Like I've seen Platoon, JFK, Snowden, Wall Street, both of them. Natural Born Killers, The Doors, Born on the 4th of July. My personal favorite, Any Given Sunday.
Mm, that's one that
um,
I have not seen, but I have the Blu-ray in my
Ooh
living
man,
room, and I need to see that one.
dude, it's so good. I love it, love it, love it. It's, I mean, it. We're not going to talk about all of his movies, but I just want to say it. Much like Platoon, shows a hardcore, visceral glimpse of what it's like to be in Vietnam. Um, he shows in that movie the behind the curtains and all the everything, the good and the bad and the ugly of what it's like to be a professional athlete. So
Mm.
yeah, it's it's good. It's good.
Oh, I need to check that one out. And man, I just actually just realized that he did a film called Savages with Aaron Taylor Johnson, Taylor Kish, Blake Lively,
I saw
Benicio
that
del
one.
Toro. I have not seen
I
that one.
saw
I'm gonna have
that
to
one.
check that
Yeah,
out.
it's pretty good. It's
Uh-huh.
interesting to say the least.
Uh,
I'll just leave it
that's
at that.
that's what I've always appreciated about him as a filmmaker is that he takes risks and he doesn't like he doesn't care about box office. He just is like, I'm going to make the movie the way I want to make it, and that's
Oh
it.
yeah,
And I appreciate that very much.
I respect it so
Mhm.
much.
uh,
Ah,
all right. So, what's your next on your list?
my number four. And see, these are all so different, man. Like, it- what is the most American thing besides apple pie? It's baseball, man. So
Absolutely.
I had to include Field of Dreams on this list, man, because I know a lot of people might say The Sandlot, or a lot of people has their favorite baseball movie, but this is my personal favorite. That's why this was the very first episode that I released of my show was Field of Dreams. It's To me, there are a lot of sports movies out there. Most sports movies actually, they use sports as a backdrop to tell some other kind of story. But this movie, and aside from being a father son kind of story, it's also like very much about baseball and what it does to you and why it's America's pastime and why we love it so much. It's because we getting to experience this with a community of other people who with a team like us, and we get to play something that we've been playing since we were 5 years old, you know, and just forget about everything else that's going on around us. We can still play that game that we've been playing our entire life. So it's just, oh man. And when we watch it on TV, like, this is why we love it so much, is because it's something that everybody's played, like, and that's what the movie in its heart of hearts, is to me, is what it's all about. Is It's all about the sport of baseball. So that's why I love it so much, and that's why I say it's like one of the greatest sports movies, because it's actually about the sport. You know what I mean?
Oh, so glad you included that one because yeah, it's exactly what you said. Baseball is the quintessential American sport. And it's just there's very little that's more communal or just has that Americana feel to it.
Mhm.
And I remember I told my mom recently that I said, like, man, I thought I really wish my dad would have put me into into little league baseball as a kid. I was in soccer instead, but I was like, man, I would have loved to have done baseball because this baseball it's awesome. And I'm so happy that we're in baseball season now and I get to follow my favorite teams. Oh, very
Yeah.
true. All right, well, my fourth on the list here is as you said, no list is complete without John Wayne. So the John Wayne film that I selected for this list just because of the American feel to it is going to be The Longest Day. Uh,
Hmm.
it is just it's a classic of of the golden age of Hollywood. A classic of the World War II genre. And what I love about it so much is that not only is it an entertaining movie, it's a also a fairly long movie considering the time that it released, but that I really love that it's almost like a docudrama, of D-Day, because we're following these various different characters in different portions of the D-Day invasion, and we're seeing their struggles, their victories, their losses, and it's a very emotional journey. We even see a little bit of like the German side as well. It's a fascinating movie, and at the end of the day, it's a great fictional chronicle of what could arguably be considered one of America's greatest victories in a theater of combat.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, that's one that I just watched for the first time. It's fairly recently, about a year or so ago. But it's as I wanted to say this earlier, but I'll say this about this movie and the right stuff that you mentioned
Mhm.
earlier. Man, it's a testament to how well done you've made a movie, that the editing is tight enough and that the pacing is good enough, and like, to watch a 3-hour movie and never feel like it ever lags at all, and like you're literally watching the whole thing and on the edge of your seat the whole time, and feel like you could have watched more. And that's
Absolutely.
how I
Hmm.
felt with both of those movies, with The Right Stuff and The Longest Day. I was like, man, I just watched 3 hours, and like, dude, I could watch another 3 hours. And I felt that way about uh the Great Escape as well. Like there's a lot of really long movies out there that they're long and they feel long. But these movies don't. They don't feel like. I mean, they feel like they're an hour and a half or 2 hours. So that's a testament to the filmmaking, testament to the acting and the editing, and like it's just very well paced film. And I love the way they tell it from all these different perspectives and different languages and everything. That's just a very cool way to do it. And so, yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm glad that's on there, man, because I was thinking about it too. I was like, man, The Longest Day really belongs on this list.
It's true. It's like, yeah, when there's so many great films to choose, and yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. It's one of those movies that just flies by, like runtime wise. It's so expertly made, just very good. So everybody listening, definitely check out The Longest Day. Definitely worth your time.
Oh, for sure.
Mhm.
It's worth 3 hours of your life.
Mhm.
Even if you got to watch it for an hour, even if you have to watch it for an hour a day for 3 days, I don't care. Watch the movie. All right. This is going to be, of course, I had to have two sports movies in my top five. But this was not baseball. This one's boxing. And I had
Ooh,
to
okay.
put in Rocky Four.
Oh yes. Uh-huh.
Because, man, nothing gets my heart pumping and adrenaline going like watching this dude in the snow training to beat this unstoppable Russian for America. Uh, Not necessarily, okay, not for America, but it's really for his friend too. But like he killed his best friend, and but dude, that's who we are, man. We protect our allies, and if you mess with one of my friends, if you mess with one of our allies as a country or as a person, if you mess with one of my friends like that I'm really that close to, yeah, there's gonna be you know what to pay. So,
Yeah.
uh, but this film, and I know the original, the way it was done, Sly didn't really have a whole lot of hand in how it was edited and everything,
Mhm.
and it kind of came up. A lot of people call it a propaganda piece for the Cold War, but and I get that,
Mhm.
and but you watch it and like this movie's so 80s. It's like it's the rock and roll 80s sports movie, and you can't help but love it. But then when you watch the director's cut that Stallone put out a couple of years ago, and it's a completely different movie. It's more about it's just like it's a totally different tone. I'm not gonna give any spoilers. If you haven't seen the director's cut, it's worth watching. And if you haven't seen the original, they're both watch them both, like because the movie is that good, it deserves it. Um, but yeah, I reject the notion that it is a piece of propaganda, and anybody who doesn't like Rocky Four is a communist.
Yeah, Rocky Four it's one I really love it a lot. It's that, because what's kind of amazing is that like I always look at almost like the Rocky and the Rambo series, and it's quite interesting when you look kind of compare like different entries in it, that of like some that kind of worked and some that didn't. And I feel like, you look at almost like Rambo 3 and Rocky 4 as two examples of these films that tried to do a similar type thing. And in my opinion, Rambo 3 just really didn't really work that well, and it didn't really accomplish what it was trying to, where Rocky 4 absolutely does. And I love just, I love the political overtones of it. I think that are really good. Like you said, it's pure 80s, with the way it's filmed, the boxing scenes. Just Dolph Lundgren is an absolute beast, just a complete
Mm-hmm.
beast in that movie. And it's just, it's 80s excess, spectacle, rock and roll, action. It's everything put together in one, and it just comes out excellent and perfect almost. So I definitely agree with you. It's a fantastic movie. I have not seen the director's cut, and so I'm definitely gonna put that down to go and see, because I'd be very interested to see how that turned out.
Yeah, Stallone actually directed it, and I mean, he always wanted to release his version of it, and so like this was, I think they released it in theaters, but I don't remember why I wasn't able to go, but I ended up renting it whenever it was. I mean, I think it was released like the same day, like to watch on Vudu or whatever.
Mm.
And I think I got it for like, I don't know, $4 or something. It wasn't very expensive at all. And then not too long ago, I bought the digital version because you can only buy it in digital right now, because I don't know. Actually, no, it has been released on 4K in a box set. 1 through 4 has been. I don't understand why they did that, but that's another
Yeah, that's
issue.
strange why they wouldn't
But
include five and
they've
six.
got 5, 6, and yeah, like and the Creed movies too. But like, yeah, uh, at least include all the Rocky movies. I mean, you got 2 more movies there. I mean, but anyway,
Hmm. Yeah, and
but
especially
yeah.
with how good Rocky Six was.
Oh man, Balboa was
uh,
incredible.
hmm. Oh man, that's fascinating. Well, I'm definitely gonna go and check that out. Because yeah, I would be very interested to see the what Stallone does with that, because the man, a lot of people may disagree, but the man is an artist, and he's a good
Oh yeah,
writer, he's a good director, and when he's kind of set loose to do his own thing, I find I really enjoy it. And a whole nother conversation, but like, I still have no idea why he did not direct Rambo Last Blood. I really wish he would have.
yeah.
But yeah, that's a whole nother conversation we can have for another podcast.
Well, I'm gonna say this about Stallone. I'm a huge Stallone fan,
Hmm.
and it says a lot when this dude writes out this part for Rocky. Like he writes this entire movie, and he goes to all these producers, and they all like it. They want to greenlight the movie. They're saying, "Who are you going to get to play Rocky?" And he says, "Well, I'm going to play Rocky." And they're like, "We're not going to do this with you playing Rocky. So we need to find somebody else." Like he fought tooth and nail to get himself to play this character. Nobody thought he could do it, and because I mean he had done some acting, but he wasn't like this. You know, this character just was not. They didn't feel like it was fit for him, and he wasn't really like a big name or whatever. But lo and behold, man, they finally give him the green light. They bring in John Avildsen to basically be a stand-in director for him because he already had his movie,
Yeah,
and he releases the first movie he ever wrote and pretty much directed, and it wins Best Picture.
yeah, it's just incredible.
Like if that
Uh,
ain't some manly American stuff right there, I don't know what is.
that it is true. It's incredible what he was able to accomplish with that. And I know that also he wrote a script for an Edgar Allan Poe film, and it's never gotten produced, but like, I read an article years and years ago in the trades where they said that it's just one of those ones, just never been produced, and they said that everybody who has read it has said that it's like one of the great unproduced like scripts of like
Huh.
American film. And like,
Yeah,
I'm like, I want to see this movie. It's like, I want to see it, it's
yeah,
like,
yeah. Oh,
uh all right. Well, let's see. So
you're number
now
three.
moving on to number three. Now, my number three here it's probably going to be a bit controversial for some people, uh, but I'm not afraid of a little controversy here. So my third film is going to be 2003's Civil War film, Gods and Generals, directed by Ron Maxwell.
Okay.
For those who don't know, Gods and Generals was the prequel to his film Gettysburg, and which was one of the great war movies of the '90s. But Gods and Generals is just, I'm a little bit biased because I was during high school I did a lot of Civil War reenacting. for a Union regiment, and had a huge amount of fun for those few years that I did that. And Gods and Generals was heavily supported by the reenacting community. Most of the soldier extras that you see in the film are actually all reenactors. Uh, so I definitely am a little bit biased when it comes to that. But just overall, this film has a great cast. It's led by Stephen Lang, playing Stonewall Jackson. We have Robert Duvall playing Robert E. Lee, and Jeff Daniels returning as Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, who was a Union lieutenant colonel, and he reprised that role from Gettysburg. And it's a very long movie. The director's cut is over 4 hours long, and the theatrical was, I believe, 3 hours and 40 minutes. And it follows the Civil War from 1861 to 1863. And what I think I love about it so much is that it really kind of doesn't focus a huge amount on the politics or the social issues of the Civil War. What it really does is it just gives you this look at the individuals in the war and the individual soldiers and even some civilians. It goes out of its way to show these civilian families during some of the battles, and it really just kind of drives in that all of these people who were involved in this war were humans. They were all people who had families. They were all normal people for the most part, and it really showcases that. And I think this one quote kind of from the movie, just from Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, just kind of emphasizes that, where he says, all these thousands of men, many of them not much more than boys, each one of them some mother's son, some sister's brother, some daughter's father. Each of them was a whole person loved and cherished in some home far, far away from here. Many of them will never return. And that just really is the perfect, encapsulation of what this movie is it's just showcasing those people. And it has a powerhouse performance by Stephen Lang. He's just, he's an incredible actor, but he was just fantastic as Stonewall Jackson. And so that's why it has fallen onto my number 3 for my patriotic films. And I would say, it doesn't matter what side of the Civil War spectrum you fall on. There's some people, who favor one side over the other or whatever. But you know what? It doesn't really matter, because it showcases people from the northern side and from the southern side as main characters. It shows you both sides, and it shows you both characters. And it's just so good. So definitely check it out.
Okay. Yeah, a very good friend of mine has been wanting me to watch it for a long time, and he actually lives in Cleveland. So, but it's like his one of his all time favorite movies ever. But I keep like, man, it's 4 hours, and
It
I
is
mean, I want to
very
watch it,
long.
but having to get my hands on it to watch, because if I'm going to watch it, I'm going to watch the full, over 4 hours director cut.
Mhm.
So I'm probably just going to end up buying, because I know you can get like the box set of both movies, and that's probably what I'm going to end up doing, just biting the bullet, just getting them both.
Definitely. I would definitely say, yeah, definitely see the director's cut. It adds so much more, and it actually is one of those examples where it is a full director's cut, and like it has an entire battle that was cut. It has so much extra subplots and contents. There's a whole plot with John Wilkes Booth, through it, that was cut out. That's in the director's cut. So yeah, definitely, it's definitely worth it to get. I got the Civil War 150th anniversary commemorative edition, where it comes with both films, and it has like all these maps and special stuff that it included with it. Um, and so yeah, definitely, whenever you can carve out that 4 or 5 5 hours to be able to see it,
Yeah.
definitely worth your time.
All right. So my number 2, I gotta include it, man. This makes 3 movies from the 80s that I have in my top 5. But I could not let this list go without including Top Gun.
Oh yes, uh-huh. Yes, 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 uh-huh.
and honestly, I can throw Maverick in there as well.
Mhm.
The Top Gun Maverick that came out last year. Like I could mention both of those in the same breath. Like they're both just perfectly well done uh, movies about these fighter pilots and their lives and everything, and like it's just it mixes drama and action and romance and just straight like man pissing contest
Yeah.
like it's just like, oh man, it's just everything about this country, man, is all mixed up in that movie. And what I really love, and I'm going to mention the new one real quick, because what I loved about the, the Top Gun Maverick is it's a perfect sequel to the original from over 20, like 30 years ago. But but any other, what I really loved about it is there was no politics in it at all. I mean, normally if you watch any kind of a military movie, especially like that's popular or blockbuster or whatever, they're going to have some things to say about the military, and that probably aren't going to be what you would have said about them in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
so so I was going to this movie thinking, okay, what kind of social things are they going to have to uh, spring up? But you know what, man, there was no politics, there was nothing. It was just a beautiful tribute to these characters and to the Navy, and I loved it. And I love the original is like it's an all-time top 20, 30, 40, like somewhere around there. I, I kind of go back and forth, but every time I watch it, man, it's just so incredible. And the more I watch it, the older I get, the more when I'm 20 and I'm watching this movie, I'm like, oh, I want to be like Maverick, right?
Yeah.
And now when I watch it and I'm in my late 30s, and I'm like, no, Iceman was right the whole time. Like, Iceman's the good guy in this movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Uh,
Oh,
man, both films are so good, perfect complements to each other. Maverick maybe one of the best sequels ever made.
yeah.
It is just it hits every single beat, and with how iconic Top Gun is, and you know it fully deserves its iconic status. That I remember when Top Gun 2 came out, I was a little worried, because I was like, okay, this is a very long after the fact legacy sequel. It's following up so much, so much of a so much of a legacy that the first one left, and it knocked everything out of the park. And that first movie, like you said, it has everything in it, and just the soundtrack is just a banger. um oh man, yeah, just so good. I've been meaning to rewatch both of them again, because I've seen Maverick twice. I can't wait to see it again for a third time, because it's just it just gets better with every rewatch.
Yeah, I watched it in theaters, but I haven't watched it since then. So it's that's been about a year now, or over a year, almost a year,
Mhm.
I think. But I need to get the movie. I think I haven't bought the. I'm going to pick it up at some point, but I hadn't done it.
Mhm. Yeah, I need to. I saw the steel book for it, and I want to
Oh
pick up
man,
the steel book for Maverick, because it was a cool looking steel book, and just because yeah, basically any movie that I care enough, a newer film to buy, I try and pick up the steel book if I can.
yeah. I just always try to wait and see if I can find it for $10.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
with the bargain hunting with physical media is always so much fun to do, because you can find some good stuff. Like, I went to my Dollar Tree, for over a series of months, and they had so many Blu-rays for $1, and I was able to pick up like some great movies,
mm.
for dirt cheap. So it's worth shopping around and looking for stuff.
I'll
Oh,
look that up.
all
All
right.
right, what's your number two?
All right. Well, my number two almost was my number one. Almost came very, very close. is funny enough, another Nicolas Cage movie.
Okay.
And it is going to be National Treasure. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, uh, you know, it is. It's like when I was putting together this list, and I thought of National Treasure. I was like, what is more patriotic than a movie that is quite literally about America's founding and going through all of American history, and it's looking for treasure. It has adventure. It just has everything in it, and so I had to include it. National Treasure is one of my top 10 all time favorite movies. I've rewatched it so many times, I can't even count. And it just has a little bit of everything. It has humor, it has great characters, it has an Indiana Jones feel to it. And just being a big history buff, I love all the callbacks to the Declaration of Independence, and just the Capitol and all the different locations that they visit, and you can't get pretty much any better than Nicolas Cage's quote is, "I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence." It's like, so it's definitely it's a movie I rewatch a lot, and it's just one of those ones that is the perfect movie to watch as July 4th is coming up. It's a fun for the whole family type film.
Man, that is a movie. I I think I actually saw that in theaters
Hmm.
back in the day. Um, I guess I was 18 when it came out,
Hmm.
19. And yeah, I remember watching it in theaters, and I remember watching it several times on DVD when it came out, when it was released. But man, I probably haven't seen that movie in, you know, 12 or 13 years. I need to remedy that soon.
uh,
So it's a good one.
mhm,
Actually, I like you said, it has a Indiana Jones feel. It very much does. I've actually
mhm,
started going back through the Indiana Jones movies
mhm,
because the new one's coming out, and it's been a while since I've watched them. So yeah,
mhm.
I really like those, and I really like I remember really liking the National Treasure movies too. So
Yeah, they definitely feel like they're very very much cut from the same cloth. I've been watching through the Indiana Jones films myself, and I can't wait for Dial of Destiny. And I'm right now, I'm kind of in the midst of a decision right now where I've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, Last Crusade, and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I'm trying to decide if I want to watch Temple of Doom now as like a prequel to those three, and then go see Dial of Destiny, or if I want to see Dial of Destiny first and then have Temple of Doom as the prequel and watch it after. I'm still in the midst of deciding about that.
um, honestly, Temple of Doom is like my least favorite of the originals.
Same with me.
So
Uh-huh.
so I probably wouldn't want to end with that.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking too. Is I was like, I don't particularly love this movie, and I was like, I'd kind of hate for it to be the last one. So like, I am leaning towards watching it before Dial of Destiny.
I
Um,
I have never seen a bad movie made by James Mangold. So I have every I have all my faith in this movie's going to be good because he's never made a bad movie. He's made some bangers, man, from Walk the Line to 310 to Yuma to, I mean, this dude. So yeah, I'm a fan of, oh, Logan, obviously.
oh yeah, uh-huh.
So
He has not made a bad movie. I don't think. Like, you since you love Stallone, have you seen his film Copland? Uh,
oh, dude, yes, yes,
that's a
such a
great
great
one
movie.
too. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Hmm. No,
So
I agree. Hmm.
yeah, I think Mango's going to knock this one out of the park. So I'll probably go with the Temple of Doom first,
Hmm.
and then end it on a bang.
I agree. I have a feeling I'm gonna really like Dial of Destiny, because like I said, he's never made a bad movie, and I really don't think that kind of like after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was kind of a disappointment. I really don't think that Harrison Ford would have signed on to it if he felt it was a weak script. Like he really wants to go out with a banger. He wants this
Yeah.
to be a good final, Indiana Jones film. So yeah, I have a lot of faith that it's going to be at the very least a good Indiana Jones adventure.
Oh yeah. All right. Now I'm at my number one.
All right.
And I gotta preface this. I was like, given the top five, two of my all-time favorite directors are actually probably my two. Period. My two all-time favorite directors are John Ford and Frank Capra,
Uh-huh.
and those two guys, they actually ended up going into business together, creating their own studio, and but they represent everything that I value in America. They have values, and they believe in they have this American spirit of optimism that, especially in Capra's movies. And what I love about Capra is Capra was an immigrant, right? He
Hmm.
he moved here from Italy. Well, his family did, brought him with him, and he loved this country so much that he wanted to represent it in its most pure and optimistic way, and it just spilled all over in his films. And he ended up, the way the film industry went, it just got so cynical, and oh gosh, if he could see the way it is now. Oh goodness.
Uh, let's
But
just say he may not be a fan of all the deconstruction.
oh gosh no. But
uh,
he ended up retiring because he was just fed up with Hollywood. I'm done with this crap. And so, yeah, I said all that to say, like, I felt like I had to include either Capra or John Ford. But honestly, I was leaning towards Capra, and the one movie between both of the directors that was standing out head and shoulders above any other was Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
one of the best political movies ever made.
Oh my gosh. Like, it, it, talking about a patriotic movie, there is not a more patriotic man in the history of, like, fictional characters in film as Jefferson Smith. Like, that is he was a leader of Boy Rangers, and he goes on to be a United States Senator through this fluke appointment that he had. um, and he ends up seeing the corruption. And this is 1939. Well, I mean, I'm not sure when this actually took, when the setting was, but this movie was made in 1939. So, and they're talking about how corrupt Washington was back then. We'll let that sink in.
That's so true. Oh.
They were talking about it during back when a lot of politicians were still noble.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Mhm.
it's there's a certain degree of cynicism about our government and the way it's run, but where you find the optimism is Jeff Smith's relentless drive to change things. And that's that's what Capra has always represented, is the little guy, the everyday man, the average Joes of the world can make the biggest differences. And that's how he was with, It's a Wonderful Life. That's how he was with, I mean, you just look back, and this movie right here, you see this everyday man, as I said, America's man, goes to Washington and could easily get eaten up and chewed up and spit out, and either become a statistic to where he's just like burnt out and just done with everything, or he could just be corrupted along with them. And none of that happens with Jeff Smith. Jeff Smith does not stop. Like, he's bound and determined to get what he wants accomplished, like to get these things done. and to try to change what's going on in Washington. Um, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's probably, I think you probably guess it's probably not going to end well, but it's it's rough to watch, but it's just like it's so beautiful just to see his passion. And this is just one. This is an all time top 20 for me. Um, I love this movie and It's a Wonderful Life. Both of them are like just both of them starring Jimmy Stewart. Both of them directed by Frank Capra, and they both represent the American spirit, the optimism that I love in film. Because I want to see the best of the world. I don't want to see the worst when I watch a movie. Yeah.
It's so true. It's a film I'm very much due for a rewatch. I probably haven't seen it in maybe about 15 years, but I remember when I did see it, I absolutely loved it. It was absolutely fantastic. So I need to rectify that rewatch and have that now. But it's like, it has so many great actors too. Like it is such a lineup. I mean, of course, we have James Stewart, we have Claude Rains, we have, Edward Arnold, Thomas Mitchell, Eugene Pallette, uh, Harry Carey, Porter Hall, Charles Lane. It's
Gene
just,
Arthur, man. Gotta
oh,
love me some Gene
yeah,
Arthur.
Author. Yeah, it is like literally a who's who of the golden age of Hollywood, basically in that movie at that time.
Mhm.
Amazing leads and just like jam packed with character actors in there. It's just it's so good. And and I do always actually kind of find it funny that with all the movies that Frank Capra made, that Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is not in as many discussions as it should be, I feel, because he made so many great films. Obviously It Happened One Night, You Can't Take It With You, and everything like that. But like, this is definitely, I would say Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is right up there with, It's a Wonderful Life, in the sense of just filmmaking quality, and just like you said, that good old fashioned American drive and spirit to better yourself and those around you.
Oh yeah, for sure. It does get the AFI treatment. I think the American Film Institute has it listed on its 100 films or 100 years, 100 movies. And it
Mm.
might be on it might be on another list as well. I think that one, It Happened One Night, and It's a Wonderful Life are all listed on it. So I mean, it did get that much treatment, but you're right. I mean, people
Mhm.
don't really talk about this film all that much. It's not like It's a Wonderful Life where people watch it every year, and it happened one night. People, that's like the original quintessential rom com. So
Mhm.
like,
It's true.
and I feel like people talk more about Arsenic and Old Lace.
Yeah,
Um,
uh-huh. I would say that. Like, yeah, and I love Arsenic and Old Lace, but yeah, it's true that one does get talked about a little bit more than Mr. Smith Goes to Washington does, which just kind of definitely surprises me a bit.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, so man, I think I'm gonna try and rewatch that this week, because it's just fantastic movie, and especially just talking about it now, it's just made me want to see it all the more. Uh,
Yeah.
all right, well, now on to my number one on the list. I think you probably have an idea of which one it's going to be.
Hmm.
But yeah, my number one on the list is going to be Roland Emmerich's Independence Day. Uh, you know, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I've loved it ever since I was a kid, and it is pretty much the most iconic disaster film, I feel like, of all time. And and just has such a fantastic cast of characters, of Will Smith, Bill Pullman, Jeff Goldblum, you know um Judd Hirsch. It's so good. And you don't get, especially for like the Fourth of July, you don't get much better than Bill Pullman's iconic "This is the
Oh,
Fourth of July" speech. It is
yes.
just so good. Oh my gosh. you know um it's no wonder that Bill Pullman always tops the list for best movie presidents.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, and
I'd take him any day.
oh yeah, he's incredible. And and as you said before, I think it definitely is a saving the world, and it definitely does have that little bit of a global feel to it. But I do love that it still has that very much American feel of hope, in the face of overwhelming odds,
Oh
of
yeah.
never giving up, even when things look completely hopeless and bleak, and so I had to include it, at the top of my list because I was like, this is just one because and there's not much more I think that I could say that hasn't already been said about Independence Day, except that it's just it's just so much fun to watch, you know.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I talk about it on my podcast, which I won't go into detail about it, but it represents like four different versions of masculinity, uh,
Hmm.
between Hiller and Levinson and the president and um, the Russell Case. They're all different. They all have their own way of being, of stepping up and being the brave man that they're called to be. And but they all have their own personality, their own traits. Um, it's interesting when you think about it, and I'm not going to go into detail. You can listen to my show, but it just shows that everyone is different, but um, we're all trying to achieve in this film, especially. They're all trying to achieve the common goal of saving the world, and Will Smith represents that John Wayne man that we talked about earlier. That um, I'm I'm big, I'm bad, I'm tough. I'm gonna save the world, and I'm gonna get the girl, and I'm gonna smoke a cigar afterwards. Like,
Yeah.
and I love that, but I think all these guys, they represent so much as far as how we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different areas of expertise. We all have different ways of leading, and different roles that we can that um that we can serve, and all achieving the same common goal. So yeah, it's a great American movie, man. And I said that earlier about it being more global, but it's definitely an American movie. Like, it's 100%. It represents all that we talked about as far as that Americana spirit, and everybody coming together. That's what America's all about, man. We're one big melting pot, and that's what this movie's all about. So yeah, it's
Very, very well said. Yeah, I love what you said about, that it's true that they all are different forms of masculinity. They're all, very different, characters brought together by this insane, situation that they all are, taking part in. And and it is so true about Will Smith. He is like the John Wayne character. It's true. It's like the alien crash lands. He's faced with the alien. He punches it in the face. And is yelling at it that I could have been at a barbecue. It's like you don't get much more John Wayne than that. That's how John Wayne would have been if he was in an alien invasion film. Oh.
100%.
Mhm.
That's great.
Oh. So true. Oh man. Well, folks, that is our each of our top five patriotic films, to rewatch for the Fourth of July holiday, and we also snuck in some honorable mentions there. And so definitely, go check out, the films on this list. Watch them with your friends and family. Have some fun. Eat a hamburger and a hot dog and a root beer float. And and enjoy the freedoms that we all have, in this great country of ours. So JB, where can people find your work? You mentioned your podcast and stuff. So where can people find you?
Well, I mean, you can find me on Facebook. It's Facebook.com/Manly Movies or Manly Movies One. I'm not sure which one that is, but I know on Twitter it's at Manly Movies One. But the podcast is called Manly Movies. I mean, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast, Stitcher, um, Pocket Cast, I think. But yeah, anyway, basically, I look at movies a lot like what we've just talked about, and me and one other guest would just get together and shoot the breeze and talk about our favorite movies and lessons they teach us about being a man. Because every movie, um, it's not just manly movies. Like, it's not all John Wayne movies. I've done a rom com before, so like it's men can take good manly wisdom out of a lot of different types of movies, and that's just kind of what I do it for. I've got a passion for film and a passion for discipleship, so why not mix the two? But I've enjoyed it. Byron's been on there like, I don't know, 5 times now. So
I have been.
If you like this show, you can hear him a lot more on there. So.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, I can definitely tell, definitely check out Manly Movies. It's a great podcast. I really enjoy listening to every episode that comes out. Just great content and great guests on there. And, of course, everybody can listen to other episodes of Under the Lens. We are on every major, podcast platform. And if you enjoyed this list episode, we have other movie list episodes. We have reviews, I have interviews, have a bunch of different things. So whatever you like, I guarantee you, there's something along those lines in the history of Under the Lens. So definitely subscribe and share it. You can also follow my work on Facebook and on Twitter at Byron Lafayette. I share a lot of movie opinions on there, and and chat about different stuff and post articles I've written. So would definitely love to connect with you there. So that concludes this episode of Under the Lens. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely share it with your friends and family, and I hope you guys found a good July 4th movie for you guys to enjoy this upcoming weekend. So thanks for listening, all.